I don't think Trump will be able to get his mark this time. On February the 1st, the White House announced an additional 25% tariff on Mexican and Canadian goods, and a 10% tariff on Chinese goods. Although the number is not large, it is not harmless to China. First of all, before that 10% tariff on China was imposed this time, the original increase was not revoked. Second, there is still a murderous motive behind the tariffs. Let's take China's import data for 2024 as an example. In 2024, China's oil imports will be about $324.7 billion, grain imports will be about $70 billion, and natural gas imports will be about $67.8 billion, of which energy and food imports from the United States will be roughly $50 billion. That is, if China wants to meet the needs of the United States. The $500 billion import demand is almost equivalent to stopping all energy and food imports from other countries and importing all from the United States. What does this mean? Two questions. After the outbreak of the Russian-Ukrainian war in 2022, the energy prices of Russia's foreign exports are basically discounted compared with international energy prices, and China has also appropriately increased the share of imports from Russia, which accounts for a little more than 20% of oil imports, which is that China would rather give up some economic interests for the sake of energy security strategy. Now the US side is demanding that China's grain imports and energy imports be provided by the US side, which is a big taboo for China. Second, China's manufacturing industry is the world's best. Now China's imports are mainly food, energy and minerals. If China will stop all other countries' energy and food imports, instead from the United States, then these energy and food exporters who have cooperated with China in the past will think unilateral dumping should be unacceptable to them. Russia, Iran, Middle Eastern oil producers, African oil producers, Brazil, Argentina and other countries are bound to deteriorate sharply in their relations with China, and even do not rule out provoking a trade war by imposing tariffs on Chinese goods. China retained the US market in exchange for losing a broader market in developing countries. Both the political and economic aspects are more than worth the losses. However, there is another side to the hard market. If the US insists on provoking a large-scale trade war against China, and at the same time imposes 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada, the pressure on the US itself will be considerable. In 2024, the US imports will be roughly $3.2 trillion. China plus Mexico plus Canada will account for $1.3 trillion, and the exports of the three countries to China will account for as much as 40%. The US borrowed trillions of dollars in treasury bonds from 2022 to 2023 at extremely low interest rates close to zero, and most of these treasuries are maturing this year. And if the Fed does not cut interest rates, it means that the US will need to pay an interest rate to about 4.5% if it wants to borrow new debt for old debt. Trillions of dollars in government bonds will cost hundreds of billions of dollars more in interest payments alone. And a little money has been spent on China plus Mexico plus Canada to impose customs taxes, and basically all of them have to fill the hole of new interest on non-government bonds. As a result, Trump may not be able to achieve his goals in the long run.